not, we will move on to our consent calendar approval of the minutes. Anybody have any issues, concerns? Member Baum?
I'd like to pull one item for discussion. Vote is item 28 on the consent calendar.
Okay, very good. On the minutes here, do I hear a motion to approve the minutes? So moved by Member Izumi. Is there a second? Member Storm? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Approval of grants and contracts. Member, well, let's see, Steve, how should we do? You want to present first, and then we can get to Member Baum's issue?
I've got
Sure.
a couple remarks as well.
Yes.
There are two contracts that we've added since the agenda went out to print. I think you have them. One is a contract with Long Beach Community College District.
Steve, where would we have them?
Probably on the addition.
Is it?
Second page, after the 1.2, is the next handout behind it.
It's a single sheet after the stapled package.
This is a single sheet after the staple part.
Okay.
So there are two contracts referenced there, one with Long Beach Community College District, the other with the Butte Glen Community College District. So we would ask that those be included in the action that the board would take today. And then also, item number 26 in your booklet, on page 33, there was a contract or a grant in the nursing area, and we had hoped that we would be able to make the awards at this point, but we're not quite ready yet. So that one will come back to you in July. So those are the changes that staff would request.
So take out 26, that's not happening at this
Correct.
point, and the addition of number 1 and 2. Just a question, why were these added late?
I can give answer to that.
Okay.
The Long Beach one, the parties, the two institutions discussed and.
Is there a microphone over there?
Yeah. Oh, no.
Or you want one to step up to this one?
Hello. So on the Long Beach contract, the two parties discussed, there were two colleges that discussed, and it was decided that one of the party would rather the other institution do the scope of work. So 40,000 was moved from one party to another party, but then it caused it to go over the threshold where you would be needed to see it. And so that happened mid-month.
Yeah, if it's under $100,000, it doesn't come to the Board of Governors if
Right.
this placed it over that limit.
Okay.
On the second project, it's a project that we wanted to fund to help SEIU and major healthcare providers work on allied health career ladders. However, we were not sure if we could fully fund the project, and it depended on how what monies were remaining based on the RFA calendar. So we had to wait until that came out until we could decide the dollar threshold.
Member Baum, you're,
Well, I have a question about item 28.
okay?
It is the Technology Research and Information Systems Division, and it's, again, every May we're asked to reauthorize a grant for teleconferencing and conference call services, and this looks to be a $4 million grant again this year. And one of the, it said it was broken out into 3 areas. One area is the e-conferencing service, and I'd like to, I know that the costs for these services, the technology has come down significantly in the last several years, and then one was on the grant, the second area, it says the grant will handle is to provide a gateway to a world of free broadcast programming for faculty, staff, and students, and I would feel much more comfortable knowing the usage, this is, at $4 million, this is a lot of money. And I wanna know, how much these services are being used and how much the breakout is in each of these three areas. It says then the third area is the development of a system-wide training center for faculty and staff to learn how to use technology, which is a worthwhile source. I know districts up and down the state are trying to develop training systems to enable faculty to use this. And so, is there any sense of how the $4 million is broken up into those three areas?
Patrick Perry is our expert there, but it looks like, I think Eric
I sent
Skinner,
an email to Patrick late yesterday, because as I was reading.
Eric's coming up here. And if the board would like, we could, deal with this later in the day as
That's fine.
well.
That's what I was going to suggest. I just emailed Patrick and his staff about it, and I'd recommend.
I should have copied you, I sent Patrick an email yesterday.
That's fine, and I think they'll be able to pull some data together and present it to you shortly here. But I would say with the CCC Confer in particular, I know that the usage numbers are just through the roof. It's providing a great value to the system, but we ought to give you the concrete information.
Candidly, the one I'm most concerned about is the gateway to world of free broadcast programming, and I don't know, how much is that as part of the grant, and because there are so many free resources for instructional programming, and how is this distinct from what is already available, and how much are we spending?
They should be able to walk that information in shortly, and we'll figure out a good time to fit it back in the agenda.
So if the board would like, we can hold that or if you'd like, Member Baum, if our colleagues don't object, we could hold that item until we
I just wanted some
later
more
today,
information.
some information. And Eric, we're able to get that information today or tomorrow so we could not delay if we don't need to.
And if we need to, we can vote on it and then get information subsequently. Because
Well, I think if we couldn't get the information, let's hold it and make a decision after we get the information. Member McDougall, then Member Ramos.
I was just gonna ask if there are any repercussions for holding it, but if we're gonna vote on it today,
Yeah.
it's not a problem, so fine.
Okay, Member Ramos?
Thank you. Yeah, we just, two things I would like to ask on this. One actually is a comment and a question. Just start with the comment. I think that kind of building on Jeff's statement, as you know, in past discussions, I have suggested it would be very helpful for this board to have more feedback from staff on the impacts of these grants as they're taking shape and field. And I had a very good email exchange with Vice Chancellor on how we might be going through that process. But I would really urge us, especially with this, fiscal crisis and concern about the uses of the ability that we have, to really expedite that process through which we as a board are reaching a consensus with staff about how that information might be come to us, and how it might inform policy and decision making forward on the testing systems. So to whatever step we can streamline that discussion, I think we should be doing. The second thing, the question is that I note that on many of these recommended grants and contracts, there are sort of formulaic amounts, so the same amounts for, same amounts for 10 or 15 colleges or 5 or 10 colleges. And I just wonder, in light of the fact that these are institutions that have, significant range in their size, the scale of their operations, the populations that they're impacting, is that really the best way for us to allocate the funds? Just have an amount of $250,750 for a dozen colleges, or $150,000 for 10 colleges. And I'm not sure that there's an immediate answer for that, but it strikes me as being a little bit sort of not thoughtful, not to be negative, but it just seems like that doesn't pick up the nuance of these disparities in circumstances, scale, potential impact within these communities. And I just wonder if there's some reason why we're beholden to those numbers being the same, or is there just a sense that this is the fairest way and the easiest way for us to dispense these funds?
Vaughn, did you want to comment on that?
So, So we wanted to be responsive to your request. So one of the early action items pending the board will be the review of SB 70 expenditure plan. And what we'd like to do there is go through the discussions of what the impact was from that set of programming, but also how we're reshaping or shape-shifting that in terms of the architecture of those programs. And you can let us know whether or not that's too much detail or just the right amount of detail or discussion, and that would give us feedback on whether or not that's the right approach. So we'll try that today and see if that's responsive to your request.
But actually, the second question, or the second part of my comment is really interesting too, which is the large amounts in so many categories of grant making, especially almost formulaic through much of the document. And I just wonder, again, is there an explanation that helps me as a member of this board understand the rationale for that, and if that is the best way for us to, I'm not gonna, withhold my vote for these matters today. I'm going to be supportive of this suggestion set, but it just strikes me that in this time, we should be very mindful of whether this is the best way for us to spend the dollars.
And Member Ramos, I do remember a couple of years ago, we did have this discussion. I even think it was I that brought us a similar question, and quite honestly, I've forgotten what the answer is. So this is actually a good review of that.
Ray,
Steve,
you are.
Ray, would you like to
Sure, I'll
respond?
try
And
to
then Member McDougal.
provide some explanation.
Yeah.
It'll be somewhat limited because I've been in the program for about 3 years, so I haven't been really involved in the discussion of the allocation. But what I do know of is, and the grants that are before you right now in terms of the items consents are what we call the centers and leadership grants. The centers essentially was a long-term investments that we've been making to develop infrastructure within the colleges to serve the various regions for the very specific strategic initiatives that are in the Economic and Development Workforce Program, such as advanced manufacturing, advanced transportation, renewable fuels. And what that normally does in terms of the monies is support a project director and a staffer to be able to serve that particular region for conferences, to build faculty capacity, curriculum, programs, workshops, also customized contracts to serve employers, a number of different things in terms of leveraging additional assets we're going to have to go after the grants and work in partnerships with other stakeholders. So that's what's required in terms of these centers that you're voting on. From what I understand, at least as a minimum, if you look at the grants, you see the 205. At the same time, the colleges are ponying up the same amount of 50% match, which is an indication of the level of commitment to this strategic initiative. And so, from what we understand is that is a minimum that they need to be able to move forward in that region with that strategic initiative relative to these kinds of scope of work that they're working on with respect to this initiative. How it's actually developed, I don't know, other than this is what we've been told, that at least this is what they need as a minimum to be able to function as a center within that area and to serve that particular region for that strategic initiative. I don't know if that's helpful for you at all.
It is helpful. So is that a sort of unit cost that sort of would apply? I mean, obviously what you're saying is that applies across the board, but
Right.
Some districts are going to have greater expenses identifying that talent than others. Some districts are going to have a need for further reach in the kind of the net that they cast to be effective in providing that program. So I would think that we would see some cost variation and therefore some variation in the amounts of the grant. So I'm not here to complain about it, I'm just observing it.
Right.
And I think that as a board, I for one, believe it would be helpful for us going forward to have some more intentionality about whether this is the best way for us to support these districts. It's not to be unfriendly to some that might ultimately get less, it's just to say that we may be prejudicing certain districts that have more complex realities, more significant populations to serve by limiting and sealing them at a level that might work for smaller districts but not work for more.
Well, when we do the grants, actually, we ask for specific budget detail and scope of work, clients that they're going to serve, so they provide all that kind of information in regard to the grant. So it's very specific, and so we go through that. It's a competitive process. So we go through at least between 30 and 40 readers that look at all that detail to score them accordingly. So it is kind of a fair level playing field in terms of at least the grant shows all the indications and they're scored competitively, then they get awarded. The part of the difficulty, though, and you do point up an issue here, is that sometimes it's difficult to balance between, for us, principally between rural and urban. And so a lot of times we go through that struggle. We went through that, for example, in 910. We had about 150 centers, and then when we got the 50% cut, it was excruciating.
Yeah.
We had to go through the process of reducing them by half. And we went through that by center, looking at performance data, talking to the project directors, talking to the CEO, a number of different criteria we went through to ensure that we were going to get a return on our investment and that they were performing according to the metrics that we're looking for in the scope of work. So we do apply, as I said, to some degree, some performance accountability to a great degree, but there is those nuances that you point out in terms of how can we be sure that we're effectively and equitably leveraging our dollars that's really serving in terms of the best return on our investment in specific areas. So.
I don't doubt the integrity of our approach or methodology. I'm just saying it's not reflected in the numbers. And again, maybe others have different views. And I just want to have a discussion so that we can be sure that we're all on the same page that this is the best way to do this kind of work. So I appreciate the response and clarification. Thank you.
Member McDougal.
Yes, I'd like to comment first on the appreciation that I have for the magnitude of the work that is involved in this project. I mean, just reading all of these grants is quite a little project in and of itself. And I think about all of the effort to get the words out to the district, the evaluation of them, the decision-making, et cetera. It is extensive. So I do want to express appreciation for that work. I personally have found the level of detail in the grants to be sufficient. I like the way it's set up. It gives a total amount, it gives the individual grants, it gives you a sense of the purpose, et cetera. What I would find to be of help is I lose the sight of the forest for the trees. The level of detail for each one of them is excellent. But maybe when we get this project, we could have a presentation that gives us the sense of the whole, that enables us to look at the various pieces, how they come together. Because in many ways, this defines to a great extent that facet of our mission that deals with career and technical education, or at least a good part of it. So I think personally I would find an overview, not necessarily in a written, this is fine, but in a presentation on it to be of value.
Okay, I think that's a good comment. I think we've been getting that from our vice chancellor on a regular basis.
I think that's
and
good.
I think we've asked for that, and I think staff has been providing that. And from what I understand, Vaughn, we will hear about the program as a whole today, the SB 70 program. So hopefully that would give you an opportunity, Member McDougal, to hear that. Okay.
Vice Chancellor Perry is here, and he's prepared to respond to the questions that were posed earlier.
Very good.
So if I could just
Go ahead, Member
if I
Baum.
could just restate the question. So on item 28 and 29 are both the renewals of the T-TIP funding, one for $4 million, one for $3 million. And on the $4 million grant, it broke it out into 3 areas. And then I had a question about the second area, just because I have a personal knowledge of abundant sourcing for free video content. And so how's that $4 million broken up into those 3 areas? And then how do we evaluate the usage of the all that, why do we need to maintain 2 television stations and all that infrastructure when that content's available?
Okay. Apologies for not being here when the question was first brought up. I was actually researching this because I got your question yesterday.
Right.
So I was talking with Blaine Morrow at Palomar. Okay, first of all, for clarification, the agreement is up to $4 million. What they actually got last year was $2 million. So the total budget for the Palomar items is $2 million. What I got from Blaine Morrow, who was the director at Palomar, is the following. There's there's actually a potential problem with the write-up. We no longer operate 2 television channels on a satellite broadcasting system, so that's gone away. So apologies on the write-up here. What we spend on broadcasting for the BOG, about $18,000 annually, audio, captioning, and travel. That gets about 50,000 views this year. They actually do keep metrics.
Yeah,
on
I'm not worried
viewership.
about
Okay.
the coverage of the bog, but
Okay.
more the other content.
Okay. The conference calling on a Confer, about 1 million minutes per month. Annual cost is about $281,000. Web conferencing averages 400 meetings per day, or 12,000 per month. Annual cost on there, $264,000. Captioning costs for web conferencing, about $160,000, and the web conferencing itself runs $325,000 annually. EduStream, which provides the educational videos for faculty to include in web pages and online courses, is $700,000 annually. That gets 60,000 views per year.
Okay.
The At One Institute, which is the faculty training, costs $200,000 annually, 8 online courses per semester, 40 faculty as students, and online
And how much is that
hosting
one?
and technical support for the online teaching conference, which is 350 face-to-face attendees and 600 online attendees. There are staff included in all of this at Palomar, and I was in the process of getting the number of staff involved. Those staff basically cut across all of the projects, so they're not specifically assigned to each of them.
So again, I missed some of it, but the one that I had the concern about was that there's $700,000 of this grant for programming that you said gets 60,000 views a year, which doesn't seem to me like a robust view. That's over $10 per view, and so it's just something that I hope we monitor that to determine
Yeah.
whether it is worthwhile for an ongoing expenditure.
And I think that's a valid question, and it is something we have been monitoring and looking into as the pool has shrunk.
So-
We've actually been paying visits down to San Bernardino to look at that.
So I'm willing to accept the staff recommendation, but at the same time, that's a flag for me, because I think if we could, that's a lot of resources for that part of the grant.
So,
Understood.
so just to be clear, Patrick, the $700,000 goes to what, and what has 60,000 views?
It goes to EduStream, which is a subcontractor of Palomar. EduStream is run out of San Bernardino Community College District.
Okay,
They purchase educational videos on demand for faculty, for faculty to put in distance ed and their coursework and materials. It's a project called Dallas Learning. It gets 60,000 views per year from students. It's generally integrated into distance ed. And they also provide the web streaming facilities and services to deliver that.
so if I'm a faculty member that is teaching a distance ed course, I would use this particular service to integrate whatever I would integrate into my
Or
course.
could use many other services
Correct.
as well.
Okay, it's not
It is one-
restricted to
It is
that.
one service they could use.
Okay.
There are many other platforms that video can be integrated into a
Right.
direct, a distance learning curriculum. What was the one after that too? Because I was taking my notes and then you, the element after that.
That would be the At One technical training for faculty.
Oh, good, yeah. And so what's the usage on that?
That is $200,000 annually, 8 online courses per semester, each of which has 40 faculty as students. Generally offered to an entire campus and their faculty. It lasts for 2 to 3 days. Also does desktop seminars offered via CCC Confer.
So when so they touched about 320 faculty with distance learning, with training and using technology in the classroom, and that's about 200,000. Okay.
Okay, let's then proceed with our consent calendar. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes.